100,000 followers, 500 euros a month revenue. That's exactly where Ari's personal brand was before we started working together. 9 months later, I managed to make this brand generate 221,553 euros at roughly 50% profit margins. And in this video, I will cover 3 things that caused this big change. I'll break down exactly how we built an offer that people actually wanted, turn her content into a system that made sales, and where we missed out on 100,000 euros in revenue because of bad decisions. So let's take it back where we started. Ari had followers, but she didn't have an offer, neither she had buyers. So in order to craft the best offer in the beginning, what we did is we spoke directly to the followers. We asked them simple questions such as, what is your biggest problem right now? What have you already tried to solve that biggest problem? Why hasn't it worked for you? And what results do you actually want when we speak about the change or the desired result? And how fast do you want the results? These are the questions we were asking them to understand exactly what type of avatar we were speaking with. After about 30 conversations, we started to notice a pattern. And this is where it gets interesting, because when you see a pattern, this is where you can understand that you can create a solution for that pattern. These people that we spoke with had similar painful problems, had same desired goals, and had same frustrations that they all wanted to solve. So this gave us enough clarity in the beginning to build an offer around those patterns. Also, one of the key things we did well in the beginning, we did not wait until the offer was perfectly packaged, but on those Q&A calls that we were doing with the audience, we would do a pre-sale directly. So we basically pre-sold the offer before it was complete, and once we started to get conversions, that was a clear indicator that we have something good on our hands and there is actually demand for it. As soon as we validated that there is a demand, the next step was to create a content strategy. For Reels, we structured the content in 3 layers. 20% of the content that we created was top of funnel, and top of funnel is basically used to get mass attention. And then 50% of the content was middle of funnel, and that was primarily to get the trust from the audience that the things that we were speaking about were true and that we actually had expertise in a given niche. And 30% of the content was bottom of funnel, which helped us with conversions. So for this exact project, we followed the launch formula, which is basically you create content, you give people lead magnets, you get them into a private group, and then you launch the product through webinar. The main idea behind that was to get traffic, engage this traffic enough to spark interest and gain their trust, and then once we gain the trust, pass them to a WhatsApp group, and then from the WhatsApp group or private group, however you want to call it, pass them to a webinar. So these percentages were fluctuating throughout the entire launch, and I could actually speak about this in detail in another video, but the overall idea and the overall strategy was that. And this is how it worked. So top of funnel, as said, brings in the new audience. It's usually focused on numbers, virality, and engagement. Middle of funnel showed that we understand the problem and we know how to fix it. And then bottom of funnel was asking qualified people to take the next step. So we basically use Reels as a tool to activate existing followers and also bring new people in. Because usually what happens with big profiles above 100,000 followers or even above 50,000 followers is eventually part of your audience is not interested in your content anymore. So what you have to do is drive up engagement. And then when you drive up engagement, there's multiple sections of algorithm that you have to pass through. That's how I like to see it. So when you upload the video, first Instagram shows it to the first layer of people, which are usually your engaged audience and actually interested in what you promote. Second layer is more audience that is engaged but not as hard as the first type of audience. And then the third audience is usually the audience that watches you once a month or very rarely. So once you pass those 3 steps, then the Instagram pushes it into Explore. And then once it is in Explore, the more general it is or the more top of funnel it is, the more people are viewing it and more people are engaging with it. This is our like basic principles of a viral video. So apart from Reels, where we were just generating traction and creating new traffic and warming up the existing traffic, we use stories. And when it came to Instagram stories, we use it as a tool to sell. So in stories, we focused on building trust, showing expertise, and driving action. And the best way to go about posting stories is through structured sequences instead of just a single story or another story or just something random. Because what stories end up doing is they're driving followers to take action. It's basically you show a follower what you do and how you solve their painful problem, and you show it throughout, let's say 4 times a week, 5 times a week, 7 times a week, whatever your volume is. I usually recommend between 4 to 5. And if I show it every single day to my ideal customer or my follower, I will warm them up so the temperature will increase and they will be more likely to buy. I will gain their trust because they will view me and they will see me for a longer period of time. And then eventually when I do the CTAs or call to actions, they will make a decision to take the next step, which can be a book a call, which I highly recommend to do that. Or it can also be towards a launch, or it can also be towards an email list or whatever. This is the basic sort of principles of how to use Instagram stories as a tool to sell. So every story sequence that we did had 8 to 12 stories, which followed just one simple structure, which was hook, context, CTA, and value. So stories work in a similar way to Reels, is that you have to hook in the attention. That means every time a story pops up, people will want to click it. So your storytelling by essence should be more creative, because in the beginning, such as hook, visual hooks, messages, etc., that what grabs the attention. And if you're a very good communicator, you speak about a certain problem, or you know how to just basically show your lifestyle and then include into the lifestyle stories your value content, and then you just know the right way to sort of dance around it and create that desire, like, fuck, this guy posted a story, I really want to see it because this guy posts cool stuff. If you generate that feeling in the audience, then you've won, because the more people are going to watch your stories, and basically the algorithm will drive it up and more people are going to see you. So that's essentially the goal that you're aiming to get. So yeah, as said, hook, context, CTA, value. That's how I like to see it. Sometimes I flip around the value in the CTA, but it doesn't really matter. I think the most fundamental important part, as it is in Reels, is the hook, but that's just my opinion. So out of 7 days a week, we posted 4 story sequences with one topic, one idea, and one direction. An important food for thought is, I think, a general way of people going around value-based points or just like problem solving or whatever they try to get the message across, they tend to focus on multiple things, and they tend to think that quality equals volume, but I like to think of it as in less is more. So instead of communicating multiple value points, I just focus on communicating one, and I focus on communicating it extremely well, whether it's in stories, whether it is in Reels, whether it's in long form videos. So I just generally, from what I've seen, highly recommend that instead of picking multiple value points, just focus on one and do it so well that the people will actually enjoy to see it. Because the main goal basically of all this is to get them to understand the point that you try to get across. So the more complexity you add, which is you add complexity by doing a lot of volume on those value points, the harder it will be for the audience to understand what you're trying to get across. So yeah, period, focus on one value point is the easiest way to go around, and actually people love to see it. So once we got the offer, the attention, and the trust in place, our next step was to get more conversions. So the question that we asked ourselves is, how do we convert more people and actually grow what we have here? So to do that, we use 2 different models. One is a launch model. Launch model is you have an offer that is available for a limited time. It is usually sold through a live event, like a masterclass or a webinar, however you want to call it. And you actively promote it every day for a short period, usually 30 days or can be up to 45 days. And usually what launches do is they create big revenue spikes. And then there is an evergreen model, which is an offer that is available all the time. There is no open or closed cart for the offer. People can buy any day of the week, and it brings in slower but more steady sales. With Ari, what we did is the launch model in the beginning, and it took us approximately 30 days to take off from 500 a month, that's what she was making with her personal brand through like partnerships or just any other content that she was posting, to with one launch to 64,835 euros just in the span of like 30 days. By the way, I'm reviewing a couple of info businesses this month. So if you're making 10,000, 40,000 per month, and what I'm saying in this video resonates with you, you can click the link below and message me YouTube, and I will see if I can help you. After we proved that the high ticket launch worked well and we sold it without any ad budget, just organically, the logical next step for us would be to create an evergreen offer. And to create an evergreen offer, we did it for a simple reason. There is much less people that are willing to pay you more than 1,000 or just a high ticket offer if they don't know you. Because to pay you 1,000, they need to trust you. And to trust you, they need to be warm. And in order to be warm, they need to spend more time with you. So in order to spend more time with you, they need to watch more of your content. To put it simply, they just need to be nurtured leads in order to buy. That's like a general statistic. So the next decision would be, let's create an evergreen offer, which costs less, which also has a lot of cool features, and is based on that research that we did in the beginning with the audience. Then let's run ads towards that offer. And then once people are in that offer, they bought it, then we can upsell them to a higher ticket. And with higher ticket, we decided to stick primarily to launches. And it sounded great. However, we ran into a couple of issues, and those issues I'm going to explain to you right now. There's 4 of them. So whenever you're going to be in the same position, or if you already are in the same position and you're going to create an offer distribution, just please avoid those things. Issue number 1 was competing offers. We created offers that were too similar to each other, and instead of complementing each other, they competed, which made the entire process of upselling harder in the beginning. A good indicator that I would use to see like the harmony in between offers that you have, if it's like high ticket, low ticket. If somebody buys your low ticket product, the upsell should be a natural way to move up. Issue number 2 was pricing. Our low ticket offer, for example, was 364 euros one-time purchase, and we marketed as in pay €1 a day because it was a yearly access. The price made sense for us logically, but for cold traffic it was too high because the leads that were coming in from the ads that we were doing weren't warm enough to convert and pay us 364 euros after just watching a VSL, because it was just a direct checkout. Issue number 3, and that's very important as well, is weak tracking. And I think that's a number 1 mistake that a lot of personal brand businesses make. Because in the middle of the collaboration that we were doing, we moved our backend to a new platform and we didn't track our metrics properly. So the data that we were receiving and the numbers that we were getting were not clear. Trust me, there's nothing more frustrating than just putting hundreds of hours in and seeing no results just because you were doing the wrong thing. But eventually we ended up fixing that as well. Currently we host everything on Go High Level as our backend, where we track leads, do email marketing, have our funnels, etc. And that works very well. And issue number 4, which is trust takes time, which is an interesting one, because there's an important thing I noticed, that whenever we run ads or campaigns, people won't convert immediately. But after 2 to 3 months, they will start to convert. So that makes the return on ad spend have a buffer time of 2 to 3 months before the actual conversion happens. And the reason for this is the leads are not nurtured enough to make a purchase. It's an interesting point because right now, currently in general marketing, trust index is super low. So it takes much more effort to convince someone to make a purchase from you because they have to trust you. So I think that was the 4th issue where we realized, okay, we need to focus on long form content and we need to improve things on our end so that whenever it came to selling the offer, the leads would be so warm that we'll just have to swipe the credit card and give us the money. So to summarize my collaboration with Ari, on launch number 1, which was a high ticket launch offer, we made 64,835 euros organically. On launch 2, we made 38,613 euros organically. On launch 3, we made 52,883 euros. That was including paid media. Also inside those high ticket programs, we managed to upsell people to 15,962 euros. And then the evergreen offer for organic and paid content that we did generated us 49,240 euros. We also had our costs. So the low ticket evergreen ads were approximately 4,160 euros and 80 cents. And high ticket launch ads were 5,960 euros, and then also we had additional cost of media buyer, which was the 9,000 plus 21% VAT, and some additional delivery costs. Overall, I'm super happy with the results because we took it from 500 euros a month to the total number that we made, which is around 220,000. And I'm still working with Ari in order to keep improving and gaining more traction for her personal brand.